Ladies and gentlemen, President Obama reportedly stated that the rule of law is at risk because the Justice Department dropped its case against Michael Flynn. That's very interesting because President Obama's administration, his FBI, his intelligence agencies, his Justice Department presided over first a cover-up, an absolute cover-up. We know that. There's no doubt that there was intent. You cannot be an FBI director and be such an imbecile that you couldn't find intent in owning servers for 4 years outside of running outside. This is technically running outside of the United States government. How Clinton was able to acquire top secret and special access program intelligence on servers running eventually on Microsoft Exchange software that lacked encryption for the first 3 months, and that at times she logged on through her cable station, her local cable station. That's according to Ars Technica. How that's not the biggest cover-up in American political history, the biggest cybersecurity debacle, I don't know. So we had President Obama not only presiding over that, but also President Obama's FBI and Clapper, his ODNI, and Brennan, and these agencies setting up and framing Trump and everyone around him simply by using a dossier purchased by Clinton. The rule of law states that you can't set up and frame people using a dossier purchased by one's direct political rival. Also, the dossier was compiled with help from Russian sources. So the hypocrisy is unbelievable. The rule of law was completely tarnished, ripped up, trampled upon under President Obama's administration. Now, we have his Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, speaking with Bill Clinton about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren, right before Madam Secretary was being interviewed by Peter Strzok, who his text messages say will stop Trump. By the way, everyone share on Facebook right now my article in the Times of Israel. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. That will be the biggest political call of all time. And of course, please also share on Facebook, in addition to my Times of Israel article that was just published, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. I will have made the biggest political call of all time, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch this channel, you're about 4 years ahead of everything. And also subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. We just reached over 15,000 subs. Let's go to 20,000 on that channel. Bizarro World Goodman has a new backdrop. You will love it. And I will have a segment up later tonight. If you want to support my voice long term, ladies and gentlemen, I am consistently using public record, reputable sources to eviscerate the nonsensical, irrational media narrative. But if you want to support my voice, it's a unique voice long term. My Patreon is below in the pinned comment and description sections. Ars Technica. Okay, really quickly. You want to talk about the rule of law? Clinton used a Microsoft Exchange. If you have a background in technology, please go ahead and give me your thoughts in the comment section on this. By the way, she's going to be, like I said, she's going to be nominee. The whole thing's been a charade, and I'm the only person telling you this. But anyway, what does this mean? If you have a background in technology, what does this mean? This is an Ars Technica article by Sean Gallagher, March 19, 2015. Until October of 2010, based on historic DNS records viewed by ARS, Clinton's email server was in fact a static IP address provided by Optimum, a Cablevision subsidiary that corresponded to the Clintons' Chappaqua address. She was sworn in, January of 2019 as Secretary of State. She was almost 2 years on the job, getting classified information almost certainly. You can't. it's almost certain. It's pretty safe to say she got classified information. Pretty safe to say she got top secret information and special access program intelligence within the first 2 years of being Secretary of State. She had several thousand. So my point is this: the rule of law starts by a cover-up. You can't say there was no intent to commit crimes when 18 U.S. Code 73F says even if it was an accident. Top secret and special access program intelligence classified data outside of the United States government is already a crime. Clinton was doing this, and this is yet another reason they're not going to go with Biden. All of this mishigas and insanity wasn't to pave the way for Biden, who couldn't find himself out of a room, and who is apparently a sleazeball beyond belief. But before we get to Michael Flynn getting set up and exonerated, because we found out that the agents were there simply to utilize the levers of government, to utilize political leverage, to utilize the United States government against American officials. Sorry, Democrats in media, you cannot have FBI officials in their text messages have anti-Trump text messages, because if it was anti-Clinton, you better believe they blame everything under the sun for their failures. So Michael Flynn was exonerated. President Obama says, well, the rule of law. He doesn't know what the rule of law is. His administration, well, there was an IRS scandal. Not only that, you had a criminal probe that was the biggest cover-up of all time, and one of the biggest cover-ups in American history, probably the biggest. Then you had a setup. Until President Obama, we had a peaceful transition of power from George Washington until President Obama. George W. Bush, the worst president we've ever had. Bush was the worst president we've ever had. Okay? President Obama is marginally better than Bush. But Bush was the worst president we've ever had. Got us into never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. But Bush was supposed to be this belligerent person towards Russia. The Guardian and others are on record in 2008 is stating that Putin has quotes. Well, we want a new Russian reset. We feel we'll have better relations with President Obama. The Bush administration, as corrupt as they were, didn't find a dossier purchased by Newt Gingrich that said President Obama and David Plouffe and Axelrod, all these people like to get golden showers in Moscow hotel rooms. No. There was no Obama dossier. There was no Hillary Clinton dossier that said, Bill Clinton. Well, it's probably based on Bill's life story. Oh my goodness, the Steele dossier is based on my diary, based on my unofficial autobiography. So there was no dossier purchased. They indicted Russian intelligence officials. We know this, finally 8 minutes in. From transcripts, we find where House Intel transcripts show top officials of President Obama's had no empirical evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Nobody from Adam Schiff to Brennan to Clapper to Sally Yates to anyone involved to CrowdStrike that was outsourced. They indicted Russian intelligence officials based on the conclusions of CrowdStrike, and they had no empirical evidence. None of these people had any empirical evidence. There was no evidence. What they do is, and they did this with Kavanaugh, and they did this with initially with Trump and Russia. They say, well, there's no evidence, but there's circumstantial evidence. But then when you say, well, we have circumstantial evidence, a pattern of money flowing into the Clinton Foundation and beneficial treatment taking place. We have Uranium One officials sending money into the Clinton Foundation, and then President Obama not vetoing the sale. Well, you can't prove anything, and causation does not equal correlation does not equal causation. But with President Obama, well, there's a dossier we just have to investigate. So then they interview Michael Flynn, and they say, well, he lied to the FBI. The transcripts, the 302s don't even show that. Well, he pled guilty to it. Yeah, because they were threatening to go after his son. So what do you expect them to do? So the FBI, for years and years and years, has been known to have corrupt officials. Just ask John Durham, who put away Connolly, the top FBI agent official in Boston, who, because of this man's corruption, he allowed criminals in Boston to get away with a lot, murdering people, all these things. And they couldn't have gotten away with it without John Connally in Boston, top FBI official, and there were other officials too around Connally. So, and now he's a former FBI official, who will get out of jail when he's like 98. Okay, John Durham convicted him. So John Durham understands how look, in any law enforcement agency, in any organization, the majority of FBI officials might be great people. The majority of law enforcement officials, great people. Some are crooked and corrupt. And so Democrats got in bed with the most crooked, corrupt people. I mean, everyone knows that Clinton committed crimes, and everyone knows that Trump was set up. But what the media doesn't want to admit is that they put all their eggs. They bought a ticket in a horse race where the horse consistently loses, but they write up the paper keeps saying, well, you know what, this horse would have won if it wasn't for Russia or all these indictments because of lying to FBI officials and horrible things. They never admit reality. They never say, okay, we lost the election because we're horrible, because we cheated Bernie Sanders. No, it was now Russia that informed you that Bernie was cheated. And Democrats and liberals and most progressives, the problem with the far left is that they never praise or stick up for Trump, even when President Trump does exactly what you would think the left would want. He just signed recently a peace deal to end America's longest-running military conflict in Afghanistan, to slowly end it. Nobody cares. First president to step foot in North Korea to begin détente between North and South Korea. The left doesn't care. A roadmap towards peace. Signed prison reform. A little bit. Okay, the left just a little bit talked about that. You have President Trump mainly set up and framed. Michael Flynn set up and framed. Now you have President Obama. The rule of law. The rule of law didn't exist. Ask all the whistleblowers that got Espionage Act indictments. The rule of law under President Obama, John Brennan and James Clapper committed perjury. John Brennan and James Clapper committed perjury. So John Brennan, perjury. John Brennan committed perjury. That's right, for surveillance of Dianne Feinstein and Democrats in the Senate, and he committed perjury regarding that. And then James Clapper committed perjury regarding everything Snowden and Assange and exposed. So you have these people committing perjury, two of the top spy officials committing perjury. Okay, you then have Clinton's numerous crimes being covered up. You then have a setup and framing of everyone: George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn was exonerated because the agents that were interviewing him had no reason to interview him in the first place. They literally went there to get him fired and to get him to lie about something. And initially they said he never did lie. And the questions they asked him had nothing to do with Trump Russia, because he had nothing to do with Trump Russia. And if this happened to any Democrat, they would never stand for it. So you had all of these people on news stations. I mean, just, the minds of Democrats and liberals around the country are so warped. They are begging now. They are subconsciously begging that Hillary Clinton would save them. Hillary Clinton has a chance to become president, ladies and gentlemen. I give her you know what? Because of everything going on, these draconian shutdown policies, that are just, that Democrats are just fawning over. You have, I give her now a 15 to 20% chance. It goes up to a 30% chance, but I think that 80% chance, pretty good for President Trump, that he's going to become president again. My prediction is that President Trump wins the 2020 election. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. That was my Huffington Post article. My Times of Israel article, Hillary Clinton, not Biden, is going to be nominee. Will be nominee. Please, please, please share that on Facebook right now. It's below in the pinned comment and description. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Twitter. If you see anyone impersonating me on Twitter, report that to Twitter. But the whole thing is a racket and a scam, and it's a political machine. Like, Boss Tweed in Tammany Hall. This is a political machine. They have no intention. They have absolutely no intention of going with Joe Biden. Absolutely no intention of going with Joe Biden. But here, the announcement to clear Flynn came in a court filing, quote, after a considered review of all the facts and circumstances of this case, including newly discovered and disclosed information. FBI was untethered to. DOJ officials said they concluded that Flynn's interview by the FBI was untethered to and unjustified by the FBI counterintelligence investigation into Mr. Flynn, and that the interview was conducted without any legitimate investigative basis. They were there to entrap him, to set him up, to frame him. And they could have done that with any American citizen. And so when people say, well, I'm not voting for Trump, they lack knowledge. They're ignorant. If you're not voting for Trump and you're voting for Democrats because you care about an authoritarian in the White House, then certainly don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Then certainly don't vote for, even if you think that Clinton's not going to be nominated, don't vote for Biden. Because that's going to be, the Democrats are the biggest authoritarians because they use Big Brother. Go read 1984. They utilized intelligence agencies to target American citizens, officials. We had a peaceful transition of power from Washington up until President Obama. That changed. The DNC getting hacked allegedly by Russia because nobody has any empirical evidence. Nobody has any evidence. The only evidence is the only evidence they claim to have was CrowdStrike because the DNC would not allow the FBI or anyone to look at their servers. I wonder why. Then you have this, smartest people in the room. Oh yeah, well they got the images, pristine copies from CrowdStrike. How do we know CrowdStrike even looked at any of the DNC servers? And anyway, the DNC is not national security; it's a private entity. The DNC is a private entity. It could get hacked by the entire planet every day. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying it's not national security. They're a private entity that in court said they could pick their nominee, which they will. So President Obama's administration not only tore up and trampled upon and redefined the rule of law into endless corruption and endless illegal activity under the guise of, well, the government's doing it, so it's fine. What they did was, it was all under the pretext of evidence they had, but they didn't have any evidence. They made up everything, and the willing participants were media. That's what an authoritarian does. That's what despots do. They lie and they blame others. The most xenophobic people are Democrats, not Trump or Trump supporters. Nobody blame Trump. President Trump doesn't blame any other country for any failures. It's Democrats who obsess over Russia because they pretend they're the new Cold Warriors because they actually allowed 20% of U.S. uranium capacity and, according to the New York Times, yellow cake uranium to be shipped out of the country while Robert Mueller was FBI director. I talk about that in Debunking the Trump-Russia Myth on Amazon. If you have Kindle, the links are below. But her top secret emails, but her deleted emails, and Debunking the Trump-Russia Myth. That's below in the comment section. So give me your thoughts below. The rule of law. President Obama talking about the rule of law. That's interesting. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer writing a cookbook. President Obama is a president who presided over the biggest cover-up in America, one of the biggest cover-ups, and the biggest cybersecurity debacle in American history, with his own Secretary of State using private servers that had top secret and special access program intelligence and thousands of classified emails outside of the United States government. These servers were running without the protection of the Pentagon and Department of Defense, or the State Department, or the U.S. government. Then he said he didn't know. And now he's saying Michael Flynn not being charged because corrupt FBI officials like Peter Strzok, who said we'll stop Trump, framed and set him up. That's interesting. That's very interesting that he would say that. President Obama presided over all of this. So, look, at the end of the day, he knows very well Hillary Clinton's going to be nominee. Clinton is going to be nominee. And she will just be a savior to the Democratic Party. It's the only chance they have. She'll get the popular vote. Biden wouldn't even get the popular vote, but she'll lose the Electoral College. Then they'll complain for 100 years that, oh my God, then they'll want to rewrite the Constitution. And then they'll lose the popular vote once they've rewritten the Constitution. Then they'll want to erase it again. It's like, have you ever seen like people, they get tattoos of their girlfriend or their wife, then they get divorced or broken up, then they have to cross out the tattoos or get it. Then they get back together and they put the tattoo again, and so it ends. So anyway, that's the Democratic Party. Give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a segment up on there right now. Subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. I have a hilarious segment tonight. New backdrop. You'll love it. And people, share my article in the Times of Israel on Facebook right now. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. Thank you so very, very much. Go look at the H.A. Goodman's other channel right this second and subscribe to it and tell your friends. Let's get it to 20,000 subs, ladies and gentlemen. When this goes down, when Hillary Clinton becomes nominee, the only 3 channels that you should immediately look at, because I'm the only person writing about this in the Huffington Post, the Times of Israel, telling you about this every single day, is H.A. Goodman on YouTube, H.A. Goodman's other channel, and Bizarro World Goodman. Thank you so very, very